So, my namaskar to all of you. So, you have got a printed text with you. There you find 4 sutras mentioned. One is Athado Brahma Jignasa, then Janmadisiyataha, Shastra Yonitva, Tattwamayananda. These are the 4 sutras. Now, in the BrahmaSutras, there are altogether 555 sutras, and of that huge text, this is only a small fraction of the text, only 4 sutras. So you can imagine what a small fraction it is. But it is technically known as Chatusutri. It is a compact form of the whole text which contains in its essence of Vedanta. So before we start the text, I should introduce you to what we call a Sampradaya Parampara Slokani. We call means a few verses that we traditionally chant before we start any formal traditional exposition of Vedanta. It is Sampradaya Parampara Sloka. Now Sampradaya, Sampradaya is it's a heritage, spiritual heritage. If you look at India's history, you'll be surprised that India had to go through centuries of social cataclysms, foreign invasions, foreign dominations, so many very, very unfortunate tragedies Indian society, Hindu society had gone through. You'll be surprised, Indian society or Hindu society is the only ancient society which has kept up a tradition as an unbroken, continuous tradition, handed over from generation to generation. This was made possible because of the Sampradaya. So, this is something very unique to give an idea how important it is in India's cultural heritage. You compare the ancient Egyptian civilization, Assyrian, Babylonian, and old Aztec, Mayan, for much later civilizations. They have not yet preserved a continuous succession of the heritage. So many of them have vanished. Nobody knows how they built the pyramids in 3000, 4000 BC. But in India, our tradition continues as an unbroken succession. I can just refer to one important statement that Swamiji made in reference to the importance of this Sampradaya and Parampara. Parampara means succession. Sampradaya means Guru, Sishya. Prasishya Sampradaya means a heritage that continues as an unbroken succession from teacher, student and his student, this continuous succession. So Swamiji, after his visit to the United States, the Western world, he returned to India and he reached, he landed in Colombo in 1897, mostly January. In January 15 or 16, he gave a talk in Colombo's Forum Hall. There he made a statement: if Manu returned today to India, he won't be bewildered, he won't find himself in a strange land. So Manu is an ancient lawgiver who may have lived perhaps maybe 4 million BC. And Swamiji says, if Manu ever had returned to India in 1897, he would find the same ancient Vedic culture that prevailed during his time continues to flourish in India. This was made possible by this Sampradaya, which is a unique spiritual mechanism in India. This Sampradaya functioned in through two different streams. One, Avatara, the other, Acharya. In certain cases, Avatara will, both Acharyas, Avataras together, multiple roles. In certain cases, Acharya just they were reinterpreters of an ancient tradition. So I am just reading this. Om Namo Brahmadibhyo Brahmavidya Sampradaya Katrabhyo Vamsharishibhyo Mahadbhyo Namo Gurubhya Prajnanagana Pratyartho Brahmaivagamasmi Narayanam Padmabhum Vasishtam Shaktim Cha Tatputra Parasharam Cha Vyasam Shugam Gaudavadam Mahantam Govinda Yogindra Matasya Sishyam Sri Shankaracharya Matasya Padmabadam Cha Hastamaragam Cha Sishyam Tam Todagam Vartigakara Manyan Asmad Gurun Santadam Anadosmi. So these two later two verses are directly relevant in our context. So here you find the succession is mentioned. The whole Vedantic heritage begins with Narayana, and then Padma Bhuva is Brahma, not Brahman, but Brahma. Brahma is one of the holy trinities of Hindu monotheistic system. I mean, is not Brahman. Often, in English we sometimes write same thing, which is sometimes creates confusions. So Narayana Padma Vasishta. Vasishta was a disciple of Brahma. Then Shakti was a disciple and also son of Vasishta. Tatputra Parasharam. So Parashara was another sage who was also a disciple and son of Shakti. And then Govinda Yogindra Madasya Sishya. So Govinda Bhagavad Pada was a teacher of Shankaracharya, was not a son of Gaudapada, but he was a disciple. The second verse is much closer to our own times. Sri Shankaracharya Madasya Padmapada Vastamaragam Chasishyam Tam Todagam Vartigakaramanyan Asmat Gurun Santadam Anatosmi. So I am going a bit too fast, but since you are recording, so you may be able to listen to it again. So Sri Shankaracharya stands in the middle of Vedantic heritage. Because today we have got a system of philosophy and a spiritual heritage because of Shankaracharya. Vedas were practically unknown as a great spiritual philosophical system before Shankaracharya. The great Advaita teachings are already there in the Vedic heritage. It's like a forest. But it was extracted from Vedic heritage and made and developed into a compact philosophical spiritual system and ideal by Shankaracharya. So you have to remember, you may have all these Upanishads with you in the bookstore. Brihadaranyaka, Chandogya, bigger Upanishads and smaller Upanishads. Many of these Upanishads mantras do not have any spiritual or philosophical meaning or relevance if you interpret them literally. So that's why some European Indologists in 18th century and the early 19th century, who had no access to Shankaracharya's philosophy, dismissed the entire Vedic literature as the mad blabberings of nomads, illiterate tribers. And you would be surprised, you also would have had same conclusion if Shankaracharya had not written this commentary. Because, see, Tattwamasi, like the Mahavakya. Tattwamasi means you are that. Aham Brahmas means I am Brahman. What does it mean? It may be a very egoistic statement if you say I am Brahman. People will laugh at you. But same Mahavakya, when interpreted by Shankaracharya in the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, the first chapter, 4th Brahmana, it becomes a highly spiritual philosophical concept. it opens the floodgates for highest spiritual realization. Tattwamasi is described in 8 Brahmanas in the 6th chapter, which has got 16 Brahmanas. One after another long dialogue. And Uddalaga, the teacher, repeats Tattwamasi 8 times. First one instruction, then 8 repetitions. So when I first I had to give a series of classes to members of the cultural activities in different countries. So they thought Shwetaketu was a little hard of hearing, So Uddala had to repeat 8 times. But each of these repetition has got a unique spiritual significance. This significance we understand today because Shankaracharya wrote a commentary. So also Mahavakyas. None of the great Vedic statements by themselves would have made any sense, philosophically, spiritually, if Shankaracharya had not written the flashlight of spirituality into it. So that's why, according to tradition, Shankaracharya stands in the middle. Shankaracharya, then his disciples, Padmabhada, Hastanaraga, and Todaga. So if you listen to these words, when you find a Vartikara. Vartikara means Sureshwara, who wrote 2 Vartikas, one in Brihadaranyaka Upanishad Bhashya Vartikam and Taittiriya Vartikam. So these are the 4 disciples of Shankaracharya who constitute the Vedantic Sampradaya of our heritage. So Vedanta means this is the unbroken succession. If you ask the Ganges, where are you coming from? He can't say he started from neighboring village, he's coming all the way from Himalayas. So this heritage is coming all the way from God himself, Narayana, and flowing continuously as a succession through different teachers and their disciples and their disciples, successive flow, continuation of teachers and disciples. And then, he says, and coming to our own teacher. So that's why, if you do not belong to this Sampradaya, you won't get the real meaning of Vedanta. So there are only 2 ways of understanding Vedantic statements. One, if you learn from a teacher who has studied from his teacher and who has studied from his teacher, and like that, he is linked to the Sampradaya, then you will understand true meaning. Or you may be a great spiritual seeker who may have already done a lot of sadhanas in previous life, like Swami Adbhutananda, Sri Ramakrishna's disciple. He needed a guru, or Sri Ramakrishna himself. Shankaracharya, of course, Shankaracharya did not learn all these philosophical ideas from his teacher. But then, when you reach the experience level, then the teachings become obvious to you. So the literal interpretation, philosophical interpretation comes from the teacher. Or, if you are spiritually evolved, if you are born as a great spiritually enlightened person, then if you look at it, it becomes obvious to you. Because if you have already experienced it, then you don't require another interpreter. If you are driving every day from here to the Pittsburgh airport, every day morning and evening, then nobody needs to explain to you how to reach the airport. If you read a manual, a book that explains to you how to reach the Pittsburgh airport, that book immediately you read, you understand, because you are driving every day, you have experience. So if you have experience, then Shastras themselves become self-evident. There are only 2 ways of understanding the essence of Vedanta. The second verse is very important. That is, Sudhi Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavad Padam Shankaram Lokashankaram. This is also a tribute to Shankaracharya, who is the exponent of Vedanta in our tradition. So, this is the first thing that we have to do. Now, the second part that I want to explain to you is, what is BrahmaSutra? Now, first of all, we should remember, Vedas constitute the foundation of our cultural, spiritual, philosophical heritage. Whenever you find any contradiction between what Vedas tell you or what Smritis or Puranas tell you, then you have to uphold what Vedas tell you, and you have to reject everything else. Because Vedas here mean Vedanta, you find out later. Vedas here, the word Vedas doesn't mean Samhitas, Brahmanas or Aranyakas. It means Upanishads. The Vedanta, the essence of Veda is Vedanta. Anta means the conclusion and also the essence, the inner essence. So, the foundation of our culture of philosophical, spiritual heritage is Vedas in a general way or Vedanta. So, in fact, Smritikaras themselves have made it very clear that if our views are different from what Vedantic texts tell you, you don't bother about us. Don't listen to us. That's what Vyasa says. Sudhi Smriti Purananam Vidhodo Yatradusiri Tatra Saudam Pramanam Syat Tayo Dvaite Smriti Pura. There are many other Acharya. Vyasa himself says this. Listen to Vedas, Vedanta, not to Puranas and Smritis. There is a contradiction. So, Vedantic books or Upanishads are the foundation. The second in importance are two books which have got almost equal importance. That is BrahmaSutras and Gita. These three together constitute what we call Prasthanatraya. Now, Prasthana means you are traveling, you are moving, you are progressing, you are a spiritual pilgrim. You are in quest of the supreme truth, the meaning of life, nature of God, the origin of the universe, all this. So, Traya means triple. So, triple foundation of spiritual culture, our spiritual quest, our spiritual philosophical heritage. It is called Prasthana Traya. That means threefold foundations of Vedanta. Okay, now, of these, BrahmaSutras importance, that's what I am going to tell you. Even on these three texts, the foundation is Upanishads. Gita is also a commentary on the Upanishads. It's called Smriti Prasthana because traditionally Mahabharata, from which Gita has emerged, has got the status of a Smriti. Smriti deals with dharma. Smriti doesn't ask you what you should do if you want to reach the highest spiritual realization. Smriti tells you how you should conduct yourself in your everyday life, your individual life, family life, social life, national life. So that's why Vikti Dharma, Dhruva Dharma, Raja Dharma, all these different dharmas, duties and obligations pertaining to different status, different positions in our life are mentioned in the Smritis. So Mahabharata has got the status of a Smriti. So Gita is called the Smriti Prasthana. That means that foundation, that one of the triple foundations which belongs to the Smriti tradition. BrahmaSutras actually deal with the logical analysis, the conclusions, and a detailed, rational, logical analysis of the important statements in the Upanishadic literature. That's what the BrahmaSutras deal with. Brahman here means Vedas. The word Brahma has got one important meaning, that is Veda. So it has got Brahma. If you lengthen the R vowel, it becomes one of it's the creator God, what I call the monotheistic creator God, Brahma. ब्रह्मा जी in Tulsidas Ramcharitamanas, Brahma ji bola hai, Brahma ji, Brahma Vacha, you find itself translated. That Brahma ji is different from Brahman. Do you remember that? That Brahma ji is like Vishnu, Vishnu Siva. He is dealing with the department of creation of the world. That's what it is. Vishnu deals with the department of sustenance and preservation, and Shiva deals with the department of dissolution, not destruction, as is frequently, very erroneously stated. Dissolution means the effect going back to its cause is called dissolution, not destruction, very often erroneously stated. So, Brahma here means Vedas or Vedanta. Sutra means a pithy statement, an aphorism, a small statement which literally means a very simple statement in brief. So there are two definitions. It's very important to understand because the sutra is written. You know, atha, ataha, brahma jignasa. So athado brahma jignasa you find. Janmadi asya yataha you find. So only one single aphorism. Very often, you know, sutras may not even be in the form of a phrase. So Panini Sutra only two letters. It deals with the Samvrda, Vivrda. It's the last of the Panini's Ashtadhyayi text is called. So it is only two letters you find. So in the Patanjali Yoga Sutras there are long sutras which are almost like a sentence, a full sentence. So the karma, karta, kriya, all that you find it there. It means of subject, object, modifier, qualifier, all you find. But in other words, a sutra is an aphorism. Laghuni sujidarthani sulpakshara padani cha sarvada sarabhudani sutrani ahur manishinaha alpakshara masandigdham saravad vishwatomukham astobham anavadyam cha sutram sutravido vidhu. This is the translation of what a sutra is. So in other words, a sutra should be brief in statement, very brief. And then it should be totally free from ambiguity. It should convey a very clear, compact, complete meaning. And then it should lay down all aspects of an idea or the meaning. And then it should be free from all flaws. Such a statement is called sutra. Sapnyacha paribhashacha vidit niyama evacha adidesho adhikarascha shadvidam sutra lakshanam. Anyway, so there are many definitions of sutra. So what we have to keep in brief is this. It should be brief, it should be free from ambiguity, it should give out a well-structured, well-defined meaning, and Vishwatomukham, it should deal with all aspects of the idea, and then it should be free from all flaws. Such a brief aphorism, pithy statement is called sutra. So BrahmaSutras sometimes may be called Vedanta Sutrani. Means it is an exposition of all the spiritual philosophical principles of Vedanta in the form of sutra. Now, to understand sutra, you have to remember a few more important things to do. That is, there are many kinds of interpretative books on Vedanta. So, sometimes, there is such a thing as Bhashya. So, Bhashya is an exposition of the meaning of sutra. So, for example, Sutrartho varnide yatra vakyam sutranusaribhi supadani cha varnende Bhashyam Bhashividu Vidu. So we are dealing with Shankaracharya's Bhashyam or commentary on BrahmaSutras. Not in a very extensive way. We have to deal with some aspects in 4 or 5 lectures. So Sutrartho Varnideyatra, a book in which the sutras, their meaning are clearly stated or explained. Then Vakyam Sutranusaribhi, one after another, these sutras are explained in a logical, continuous manner. Then along with that, the Bhashyakara, the one who writes a commentary, also expounds a distinct, well-structured philosophical school of thought. That is very, very important to remember. So, a commentary on the sutra is not just an exposition, not an explanation. It explains Sutrartho Varnideyatra. It explains the meaning of the sutras. Sometimes a Bhashyakara, commentator may add new ideas. He may give a connecting link to give a logical meaning to the continuity or succession structure of the sutras. And he may add an introduction. Shankaracharya's introduction, called Adhyasa Bhashya, is supposed to be the greatest exposition in Vedanta, a very brief statement which we may briefly deal with. And not only that, he will establish a distinct school of thought in writing that Bhashya. So, a Tika is an explanatory note. You are not supposed to give, you need not establish your own distinct school of philosophy in a Tika. A sutra, we really cannot get a clear picture of what a sutrakara is trying to convey unless you read the sutra with the help of a bhashya or a commentary. Without a bhashya, a sutra will not make any real sense. So that should be understood very clearly. So, a commentator, a bhashyakara, he establishes his own philosophical school while writing a commentary. Then there are other types of commentaries in a critique of an original book like Bhashya. It is called Vartika. Sureshya's Vartika, Taittiriya Vartika, huge books, mostly commentaries in metrical form, in verses. So this is a brief description of what Bhashya is. Now what about BrahmaSutra? So we have to remember, there have been a number of distinct schools of philosophy and a number of philosophers belonging to different philosophical streams who wrote commentaries on BrahmaSutras. So then only you understand the uniqueness of Shankaracharya's commentary. So Shankaracharya wrote a commentary based on Advaita Siddhanta, means absolute non-dualism. Ramanuja wrote a commentary on BrahmaSutra, Visishta Advaita, qualified non-dualism. Madhvacharya wrote his Dvaita Bhashya. Then Vallabhacharya wrote Dvaita Advaita. Then Baladeva who belonged to the Chaitanya school of Achintya Bheda, he wrote a commentary based on Achintya Bheda system of philosophy on BrahmaSutras. It's not so very popular. Vijnana Bhikshu, Avibhaga Lakshana Advaitam. And now, so that means Advaita, Visishta Advaita, Dvaita, Bheda, Achintya Bheda, Shaiva, Shakta. All these traditions have written commentaries on BrahmaSutras. Of all these bhashyas, the most reputed and well-known bhashya today is the bhashya of Shankaracharya. For many reasons, there have been bhashyas before Shankaracharya, the Upavarsha, many others. But then many of these Bhakta Prapancha, Jnana Karma Samuchayavadis, but many of those bhashyas almost became redundant, or people stopped reading, they went out of use after Shankaracharya wrote the commentary. The same thing happened to Gita Bhashya also, So today you find the Adhyatma Prakasha has brought out a huge volume, 2 volumes in fact. It's got 18 commentaries, Ashtadasha Bhashya, Gita. Of which there are Hanuman commentary, Ravana is also one of the commentators. We don't know if the well-known or the not so well-known, famous or infamous Ravana or somebody else, we don't know. So there have been many commentaries of the Gita, but after Shankaracharya wrote the commentary, all the previous commentaries practically went out of use. Now, of course, before coming to the text, I shall deal with another important thing. That's about the name of this book. So, as I mentioned, BrahmaSutras can be called BrahmaSutras or Vedanta Sutras. Another name is Sharirika Mimamsa or Sharirika Sutras. The meaning is this. See, Sharira means this body. Sharirika means something that lives within the body according to the formation, the grammatical form. And what lives within the body should be different from the body. And that is the absolute reality, Atman. So, Sharirika Mimamsa means an inquiry. Mimamsa means an inquiry, investigation into something. So, an investigation, an inquiry, a quest in search of the supreme truth that is immanent in all of us. That is Atman. So, that is sometimes called, in that sense, it is called Sharirika Mimamsa, Sharirika Bhashya. These are different words used to mean BrahmaSutras. So, now I want to ask you whether I am going too fast, whether I should slow down, and then continue the text. Any view from you? It is a technical book, a bit polemical, dialectical work. It's not a straightforward text. So, normally this text is taught and studied only after you have mastered Mimamsa, Vyakarana and Nyaya and other earlier Vedanta textbooks. Then only you are supposed to go near BrahmaSutras. So, since that is the possibility is rather remote, so I can tell you, I can just ask you if there is any need for me to slow down or to change the method of interpretation, or we'll continue. What do you say, Ramesh?
I think you're fine, Swamiji, what you're going to do. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So then now, my plan right now is not just to give a lecture on the BrahmaSutras, but to give an idea of the text. So there are 4 sutras you find in the printed paper. I am not going to that sutra right now. Before I take up the first sutra, Adhado Brahma Jignasa, the Atha word is there, Atha, Ataha, Brahma Jignasa. These are 3 words which together can be called Adhado Brahma Jignasa. The Atha should be understood now, from now onwards. That's what it means. Now, what is the context of writing this commentary and writing these sutras? Badarayana was the great sage who wrote these sutras. The Sutrakara is Badarayana. Bhashyakara is Shankaracharya. Remember, you should not get away with the impression that Shankaracharya was the only commentator. Not at all. There were 7, 8 commentaries, but even 11 commentators were there. Some of the pre-Shankarite commentaries were there, and also post-Shankarite commentaries. From Ramanuja, Madhva, Baladeva, and then Nimbarka, Vallabha, all these are post-Shankarite commentators. Upavasha and others, the Bhakti Prapancha, they belong to the pre-Shankarite period. So, there were being innumerable commentaries on Badarayana Sutras. The whole total number of sutras is 555 sutras. And these 555 sutras are divided into 189 adhikaranas. I will tell you what adhikarana is. Adhikarana is a small group of sutras. Certain adhikaranas will have only one sutra. See, for example, Jignasa Adhikaranam, only one sutra, Adhado Brahma Jignasa. Shastraya Nitva Adhikaranam, only one sutra, Shastraya Nitva, etc. So there are many adhikaranas which have got many sutras which together constitute one topic of discussion in a particular dealing with one particular aspect of Vedanta. In each adhikarana there will be beginning one sutra, and that sutra is called the Mukhya Sutra, which gives the central theme of the whole adhikarana, and a number of sutras which are explanatory, expository, sometimes dealing with the BrahmaSutras. So and so remember 555 sutras, 189 adhikaranas. According to some other calculation, maybe 190 adhikaranas doesn't make much of a difference. Just like Patanjali Yoga Sutra, Patanjali Yoga Sutra, some people say it's 195 sutras, some is 196 sutras, because sometimes they divide, they put together two sutras to form one. It is 195, otherwise 196. Depends upon how you look upon it. So, and each of these adhikaranas, all of them put together are divided into 4 chapters. So that should be understood. 4 important chapters are to be understood. So each of these adhikarana will have one Mukhya Sutra, and then these Mukhya Sutras will be followed by other sutras. Now we will come to the text. First, the first part of the Brahma Sutra Bhashya is called Ubodhara. Ubodhara means introduction. It deals with some very fundamental questions that all of us can easily understand. To begin with, according to Vedanta, Shankara's philosophy, the reality is one, and this multiplicity of the universe is an illusion. So Brahma Satyam Jagat Mithya Jivo Brahmaiva Napara. This is the central statement in the Vedantic philosophical tradition. Brahma Satyam Jagat Mithya Jivo Brahmaiva Napara. Absolute reality is one. Now what is absolute reality? Absolute reality is something that never changes. And if there is anything which never changes, it should be unborn and it should be deathless. It cannot die, it cannot cease to exist. And therefore, it is never born. Because birth means a transition from a state of non-existence into a state of existence. Death means a transition from a state of existence into a state of non-existence. So, it is neither death nor birth, neither origin nor destruction. So, it is also devoid of the other intermediary processes like growth, evolution, and other changes, That is called Shadvikaras. Vikaras means change. 6 changes. So jayade asti vardhade viparinamade kshiyade vinasya or apakshiyade nasya. Different words. Originally this idea was put forward by Kumarila Bhatta in his Slogavartika. It's a book that predates Shankaracharya's writing, the Bhashyas. So if you want to call anything immortal, eternal, permanent, in the absolute sense of the term permanent, then it should be free from all changes. And if it is to be free from all changes, it should be existing without any change, the past, present and future. Trikala apatitatva means it is not affected by these triple points of stages of time phenomenon. That means past, present and future. So it should be free from changes, it should remain the same, and it should be beyond Sabdigaras, birth, the growth, evolution, old age, decay and death. So, Jayade Asti Vardhate Viparinamade Kshire Nashiri. And it should remain the same in the past, present and future. It should remain the same in the Jagra Swapna Sushupti, in the state of waking state, dream state and deep sleep state. There is only one reality that qualifies for this status of being a permanent reality if you take all these criteria into consideration. That is Brahman. Now what about this world? One of the greatest blunders that happened during 19th century interpretation of Vedanta was translating the word Maya or Mithya as illusion. Illusion is the appearance of something which really doesn't exist. Maya really means not something that does not exist at all. Maya or Mithya is something that exists in a relative sense, but doesn't exist in the absolute sense. So what we now feel is existing, we later discover that is subject to changes, so it is not existence in the absolute sense of the word existence. It is not absolute reality. It is not absolute unreality either. An illusion is an absolute unreality. So if it were absolute unreality, then you won't talk about it. You cannot even conceptualize it. You cannot even think about it. Anything that is absolutely unreal, unless you want to be certified by psychiatrists, you won't make a statement about it. Really speaking. Shankaracharya says, Aprasaktasya ka prastavaha aprasakyasya ko nishedha. Prasaktasya ka prastavaha prasaktasya ko nishedha. What it means, what is absolutely unreal, that you cannot even think of, talk about, write about, even conceive of, you don't talk about it. If you write about it, if you think about it, it should have a vague, distant background of reality. What you are writing is wrong, but what you are writing should have something as a background. So you are writing a picture, you can remove with a chalk. You are writing a picture with a chalk on a blackboard. You can remove the picture with a piece of cloth, but you don't remove the canvas or the blackboard with a piece of cloth. So Vedanta says there is only one absolute reality, that is Brahman. This Jagat, this world is Mithya, which means it is something that is actually only relative, actually not absolutely real, but we mistake it to be real when we are in a state of ignorance. That is what is called Mithya. So, Sad-Viviktatvam Mithyatvam. Prasannopados Traigali Nisheda Pradyogitam Va Mithyatvam. There are 5 definitions of Mithyatvam in Vedantic text, in post-Shankaracharya Vedantic text. Like, this Sureshwara, Padmapada, then Madhusudana, Chitsuki, all these, later Vedantic philosophers, they are given. Pradipannobhado Traigalika Nisheda Pradyogitam Va Mithyatvam. Right now, you are looking at an object, it is a piece of rope, and because there is not enough light, you mistake that rope to be a snake. So when you mistake it for a snake, it exists. But that snake doesn't exist when you switch on the light. So what you consider to be, to be real is later separated or corrected as non-existent. That is called mithya. So that's an important word to understand. One of the greatest problems in interpreting Vedanta for many non-Vedanta, including Ramanuja. So Ramanuja wrote Sapta Adbhavati Nyaya. He wrote a book expounding seven objections to the concept of mithyatva and avidya, which it's all based on this fundamental mistake. Means mithya doesn't mean totally unreal. We mistake for something, we mistake what is actually only relatively real to be absolutely real when you are in a state of ignorance, or when you are not fully equipped to understand the reality. Just as you mistake a rope for a snake when you are at a disadvantage because there is not enough light in the room, so there is a curved object lying on the table which you mistake to be a rope, and according to Vedanta books, if it is lying on the floor, you may mistake that rope for a snake, for a curved shaped stick, or for a thin stream of water, like Jaladhara, Danta, Bhuchidra, or Sarpa, for mistaken. Four objects are superimposed upon this snake. Now, those four objects do exist. When you think there's a snake, you mistake the rope for the snake, there's not enough light, you run away, going in search of a stick, and you come out, you come back to the room, then you open the window or switch on the light, and then the snake is gone. So there was snake when you were running about, looking for a stick. Where did the snake exist? In your mind. But then, the snake would not have existed in your mind even as a snake idea if you have never seen a snake any time in your life. You have seen a snake the previous day in a forest or a zoo, that memory is there, and that memory is now superimposed on a rope, so the rope becomes a snake for the time being. So also, because we identify ourselves with this body, with this mind, with this intellect, and we superimpose all these characteristics on the Atman that we actually are. Also we superimpose the names and forms which constitute this world upon Brahman, which is actually beyond name and form. So it's called Samsarga Dhyasa and Tattwamayananda Dhyasa. So we will deal with this. We don't have enough time to deal with all this. So through this kind of adhyasa or superimposition, we do not realize the fact that Brahman is only reality. We look upon this world of multiplicity as real. So now this is the central thesis. At the beginning of the Bhashya, Shankaracharya is trying to raise a popular objection to this view. There have been many people who won't understand. So the text is, I shall just read it, maybe for just a sample. Yusmat asmat pratyaya gochariyohu vishayanohu tama prakashavat viruddha svabhavayohu idredra bhava anubhavatto siddhaya tad dharmanam api sudara idredra bhava anubhavattihi ityado asmat pratyaya gochare vishayini chidatnagi yusmat pratyaya gocharasya vishayasya tad dharmanam cha adhyasaha तब विपर्ययेण विषयेण गत धर्माणां च विषये अध्यासो मिथ्या इति भवितुं युक्तम्. So this adhyasa or adhyaropa, it is actually, I don't think what you're talking is okay. So this objection is not Shankara's view. Shankaracharya is projecting a possible objection from another source. This objection could come from mostly Mimamsakas. It could come from Nayayikas, Bauthas, or Sankhya, Yogas, different schools of thought. In fact, many of the non-Advaita schools of philosophy also have raised different objections to this problem of adhyasa. How can subject and object get mixed up? So that's idea behind it. How can we compare this adhyasa? I mean, our natural tendency of superimposing the world on Brahman, the world of multiplicity, the world of name and form, Namarupa world, we are superimposing upon Brahman, or superimposing Brahman on this world. This sort of thing cannot really happen. That's what the objector says. Which means there is no adhyasa, he wants to say. Because the reason he gives is, they are distinct and different like light and darkness. Because Yushmat, that is object, anything that is other than me, either this or you, can be an object. Or Yushmasmat means I. These two are two different entities, they have two different characteristics. So how can these two entities, the subject and object, which have got two different characteristics, how can they superimpose upon each other? It cannot really happen. Now, in the next paragraph, Shankaracharya says, you are right. Actually should not happen, but that's what is happening all the time. In fact, that's a problem, Logically, what cannot happen is happening, and every day we are doing that. Every day when we interpret I, we don't say the Atman, I the Atman, we say I the body, I the mind, I the intellect. So anyway, I shall read it and I shall try to, since you don't have the text, there's no way I can explain it word text by text. So I shall give the philosophical meanings. Okay. So tathapi anyonyasmin anyonyatmagatam anyonya dharmamscha adhyasya itaredara vivekena atyanta viviktayohu dharma dharminohu mithya jnana nimittaha satyanade mithini kutya ahamidam mamedam iti naisargiyoyam loka vivakaraka. Here Shankaracharya says this doubt is raised by an objection, by an objector. That is true. They are mutually subject and objects are two different things. Objects constituting the world, name and form, all these are totally different. Subject is Brahman, the effulgent Atman. So when we interpret ourselves, when I interpret myself as this body, I am actually superimposing the characteristics and the tendencies of this external objective world upon the real me, who is Atman. So when I say I am hungry, I am thirsty, I am happy, I am unhappy, what I am doing is I am superimposing upon the real I all the characteristics of things in this world which become happy, unhappy, which come and go, which are born, which exist and then disappear and then they get reborn. All these changes are superimposed upon the changeless absolute reality. But this is what is happening every day, every minute. So it is a common sense experience. That's why Shankaracharya says, Satyanade mithini kutya ahamidam mamedam iti naisargiyoyam loka vyavakara. This is very natural. Naisargika means is an inherent characteristic. That's what happens, I am happy now. If I look upon myself as Atman, I won't say I am happy and I won't say I am unhappy. If you hurt a finger or a finger in your hand, If it upsets you, you say, I'm suffering. The I in the sentence, I'm suffering, stands for the body. But again, when you feel hungry or thirsty, I'm hungry, I'm thirsty, I'm hungry, I'm thirsty, or I'm happy, I'm unhappy. You don't mean the body is happy, body is unhappy. It's the mind that you mean when I use the word I. Going beyond that, when you read a book, you feel inspired. It's not the mind, it's the intellect that's inspired. Going beyond body, beyond mind, beyond intellect, when you the spiritual dimension, when you feel you are the all-pervading Atman, the effulgent Atman, the eternal reality, then bodily problems like an injury, emotional problems like happiness or unhappiness, mental liberations like anger or whatever it is, or intellectual characters like I'm now inspired, I'm now bored by reading this probably boring book. All days will be completely sublated with the moment you introduce yourself, I'm the Atman. So all these things are transcended. So the word I for a spiritually enlightened person means I am Brahma, Aham Brahmasmi. The word I for an average and spiritually unenlightened person means this physical body or this mind or this intellect. So every day we are doing this. Objector says that it cannot happen. The characteristics of the objective world, which are subject to changes, which come and go, which may happy and unhappy, all these imperfections and changes make them different from Atman. So how can those characteristics be imposed? So there can be no superimposition. That's what the objector says. You say, Shankaracharya, that's true. What you say, but this is what is happening every day. Every day, every minute, we are doing this. And he gives the example, Akamidam mamedam idi. Well, I'm dukhi, I'm sukhi, like that. Or this is, Mama Sakha, my friend, my enemy, all this, So, every day, every minute, we say, I am this or this is mine. It is happening. So, whether it is philosophically possible or not, it is happening every day. That's the idea. That is the Shanka Parihara. And remember, I am giving a brief, matter-of-fact explanation of the trend in the commentary. Now I think we can have, we have about 15 minutes for interaction. Okay. So you can raise the questions to be asked. Yeah. It's a dialectical work. It's not, it is purely argumentative work. So it is much more complex than a critical pure reason, Kant's critical pure reason. So, but how to put it in the context of our everyday life? So the objector says, it cannot happen. Tama prakashavat viruddha subhavayoho. Tama means darkness. Prakasha means light. Both are totally opposite each other. Object and subject, totally dissimilar, opposed to each other. So how can one superimpose upon the other? You say you are right, but that's not happening every day. So that is the reply. If it doesn't happen, then we will realize that we are the Atman. We have no problems. Not that we run away from the world, not that all these problems cease to exist at a physical level. The problems won't be problems for us. Problems and questions, they cease to be problems for us. At objective level, physical level, there will be problems. But then our perspective will be different, our priority becomes different. So those problems are lesser problems, or they are not problems any longer. That's what happens for a spiritually enlightened person once we are free from this adhyasa or superimposition. That's idea. Now you can can discuss it.
So Swamiji, one question I have is, for instance, any one of us is made out of 5 elements in Brahman. So from some of the studies I heard that all 5 elements is also Brahman. So if 5 elements is Brahman and then we have a Brahman itself,
Yeah.
my question is, so...
Now remember, your question, your next part of the question is based on this premises. So, is it so? So this part needs some correction. So you can continue. I will give competence. Please continue.
So just to reiterate what I am asking is, we are made of 5 elements encompassing Brahman. Where does vasanas come from? Because other than this, only impurity we have, which doesn't let us feel Brahman all the time, is vasana. Where does vasana come from?
Yeah. Okay. Now the point is, this objective world, 5 elements, which also constitute our body, but the physical level. They are by themselves not real in the true sense of the term, they are only relative. The world becomes real when you understand the world as Brahman. If you look upon the world without associating the world with name and form, then it is no more the world. For a spiritually enlightened person, he looks upon this world from his perspective. For him, this world made of 5 elements is totally irrelevant, because he will be looking at this world without this association with 5 elements. He will be looking upon this world as Brahman. So that is why when we look upon Brahman as Brahman, the world doesn't exist. When we look upon the world without association of name and form, the world itself is not different from Brahman. That is why at the philosophical level, BrahmaSutra, Jagat Nitya. At the spiritual experience level, BrahmaSutra, Jagat Satya. So at the end of the Chatusutri Bhashya, Shankaracharya says, Aham Brahmasmi, this Mahavakya, all these great ideas are true. But even those ideas, as ideas, belong to Dvaita level. When it becomes experienced, then Aham Brahmasmi, even Aham the Pramata, the knower, itself is separated. That is the last 2 statements in the Chatusutri Bhashya. So, the Pramada, Prameya, Pramana, the subject-object association, yourself, the world, and the process of your knowing this world, all these exist at the Dvaita level. Even philosophical discussions, even the idea of BrahmaSutra, Jagat Nitya, this great statement, the Upanishads as words, they exist at the Dvaita level. When we reach the experience level of what Upanishads say, then they are themselves separated, we transcend that level. At that time, mind, emotions, all these become totally irrelevant. Because your understanding that you are the Brahman, the Atman, that completely sublimates your mind. You look upon yourself as something other than this body, mind, complex. If you ask the question, what will be the condition? Actually, there can be no answer. That's why in spiritual life, which is a sadhana life, which is the real road to this level, when we do some sadhana, our problems and questions also change. So if we try to solve all the questions, all the problems, it's like sitting on one bank of the river and analyzing the flow, the temperature of the water, what it would be like crossing the river, etc., without really making any effort to enter the river. So once we start taking the first step in spiritual sadhana, then our understanding of problems will be different. I can give an example. very often I meet people, spiritual seekers coming to the ashrama. So I often, we can't ask them to read BrahmaSutras or Upanishads to begin with. I will ask them to read the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. That's what I do normally. It's a simple, straight, open path for everyone to make use of. So when I tell them after after reading for some time, they come after 1 month, 3 months, their doubts are different. Because if you're climbing the steps, you take the first 3 steps, 4 steps, then your approach, 5th or 6th step will be different from your approach at the bottom of the staircase before you take the first step. If you go to a library and read a wonderful book within 1 hour, sometimes your mind changes. So, the mind, emotions, all these are they become totally irrelevant in this stage. That in fact, the last part of that, the Sadhusutri Bhashya itself is very illustrative. See, अन्वेष्टव्यम आत्मविज्ञान प्रमातृत्वम आत्मनः अन्वेष्टस्य प्रमादैव पापदोषादिवर्जितः देहात्म प्रत्ययो यद्युत् प्रमाणत्वेन कल्पितः लौकिकं तद्वेदं प्रमाणत्व आत्मनिश्चयात्. So आत्मनिश्चय, the reading should be careful, meaning be different. So when you are in search of Atman, the supreme truth, when you are already in the quest for it, then you think, well, I am the one searching for I am in search of the absolute reality. When you reach the absolute reality, then you are no more the seeker. So your understanding of your goal and problems and my mental conditions will be totally different when you take a few steps. In actual spiritual sadhana life, when we take the first few steps, our priorities, our approach, and our doubts and questions also will be totally different. That's why I often tell the people, don't worry about right now. You take the first step. Read the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna at least for 1 month. Every day 10 minutes. Or at least 1 week. And your questions are different then. Not japa dhyana may be a bit more difficult for a beginner, but reading, you read many things. Along with that, you read the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna every day, half an hour. Even when that's done sincerely, our priorities and approach becomes different. So in actual spiritual life, at the experiential level, you find the doubts and questions and challenges operate under a different set of laws and regulations. So that's why we cannot have a GPS mechanism for spiritual realization. You can put in the car and can drive. But here, you drive in spiritual life, you cover the first 1 mile, your understanding of the rest of the distance is totally different from what it was before you started driving in spiritual life. Priorities get changed. So we will continue. You can keep your questions ready tomorrow. Any more doubts? We have 1 more question you can ask. Okay, please say.
Question Maharaj. Upanishad is the base of Hindu philosophy, the bedrock. And then we have BrahmaSutras and Gita. Which are derived from the Upanishads. So,
remember, Upanishads, Gita is not derived from Upanishads. Gita, in a way, can be called a great commentary on the Upanishadic philosophy, Vedanta philosophy. This is Samasta Vedartha Sara Sagra Bhudam Durvikeyata. According to Shankaracharya, Gita constitutes a very wonderful exposition and a commentary on Vedanta. So in that is relationship with Vedanta. BrahmaSutra is logical analysis of the fundamental conclusions of Upanishadic statements.
So am I correct in understanding that sutras is probably, as you said, aphorism or a formula, and so Upanishad being the whole thing, Brahma Sutra is a summarized or compressed form of Upanishads. Can we say that if these formulas can be expanded, we would again go back to the Upanishads?
Yeah, Brahma Sutras in a way we can say is a compressed form, but it would be more accurate to say that Brahma Sutra gives the conclusions of Upanishad statements. So Badarayana refers to a number of Upanishad statements directly and indirectly, mostly from Chandogya, Taittiriya, Brihadaranyaka and other Upanishads. So mostly from Chandogya and Kathopanishad and Taittiriya. So what the Upanishad statements convey, that must have been Badarayana's purpose, because in fact what Badarayana must have intended begin only from commentaries. So it is Shankaracharya who actually formulated the very structure of Bhashya. So based on that, following that method, Ramanuja wrote a commentary establishing according to him that the Vishishtadvaita conception of Brahma Parinamavada is the view of which Brahma Parinama means God, the whole world evolves out of Brahman or God, and God is immanent, residing in everything, but still God is different from everything. So Apratasiddhi means there is a kind of, it is called, it is a combination of Dvaita, Advaita ideas. It's called Visishta Advaita, means Chit Ajit Visishta. It is Advaita, but the point is, within this Brahman, as a result of Brahman's evolution, the world and also different jivas exist. They are dependent upon Brahman, and Brahman is immanent in it, but still they are different from Brahman. So God of Brahman is present in everything in this world, but everything in this world is also eternally, permanently distinct and different from Brahman. Shankaracharya says no. The moment you realize that this world, this Nama Rupatmaka world, and this physical body, mind, intellect, etc., when we transcend these limitations, then what is left out is the all-pervading reality. That's it. Anyone? Any other?
When Maharaj says only left over is all pervading reality, is that being experienced through the mind again, or is just a pure understanding?
Yeah, mind is the means and for a spiritual sadhana, because the first step is purification of mind, filling the mind with positive vasanas and samskaras, and removing the negative samskaras and vrittis. So when mind gets completely pure, then that's no more the mind that we understand today. That mind will be totally different. That mind becomes an instrument for realizing this truth. That mind is not the mind as we understand the word mind in either psychology or in normal state of emotional life. That mind is totally different. So when that mind reaches that level of absolute purity, it becomes not different from Atma. Mind is like a mirror. If the mirror is dusty and filthy, then the reflection of the light will be very, very weak. On the other hand, through spiritual practice, if you purify your mind, like a piece of cloth, you take it and clean the mirror, then the light reflects with greater and greater effulgence. And then the real light and the light through coming from this reflective medium will be of the same quality. That's the idea. Yeah. So we can continue the discussion tomorrow. Those of you who want to ask questions. Okay.